welcome back to Walk, Run, Soar. It's day 2. I just got done with a 2-mile run outside. My first run, well, it wasn't really a run, it was more of a jog. Post Princess, it felt really good. I was kind of just judging when I was gonna go back to jogging, running, whatever, when my body kind of just felt normal again, recovered from, sleep deprivation a little bit, and all that from Princess. So it felt really good to get back out there. You can see a little fuzz right here. Sadie was out there with me. I look forward to the day when we can actually go on official runs together. But for right now, I just let her, she just kind of follows me around the yard whenever I just do laps around the yard to help her get some exercise. So that's what I did today. Oh. And now she's tired. Okay, so day 2. Really good topic, and sometimes kind of hard, sometimes, especially when you see all the stuff that's going on right now. But it's called Beauty from Ashes. And the verse that she shares in the beginning is Isaiah chapter 61, verses 1 and 2 through 3. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. So the story that she shares at the beginning of this day's devotional is how she was running a race that she had ran before. It's called Shadow of the Giants Trail Race. Trail races are always, we get a lot of those up here where I live. They can be interesting. She had ran it before, and I guess there's a lot of hills in it. She talks about how she's running through sequoia, I hope I said that right, trees at 5,000 feet elevation. And she just focuses on her breathing and putting one foot in front of the other. So she, like I said, she had ran this race before, and it goes through the Nelder Grove, which is near Yosemite National Park. And this particular time that she was remembering was how different the landscape looked, because a wildfire had gone through earlier in the year. So instead of a lot of lush greenery, I guess it was a lot of burnt trees, fallen trees, blackened trunks type deal. So it was a different landscape that she had experienced before. So then she shares, when a fire rages through dry underbrush, it clears thick growth so nourishing sunlight can reach the forest floor. This encourages the growth of native species. Where forest fires destroy, new life always springs up. A resilient tree that survives the fire can even experience a growth spurt. So while she was noticing, she goes on to share, while she was noticing the fallen trees and all the burnt things, she was also seeing where that new growth was happening because of this wildfire that went through. She saw a few wildflowers, little bits of green grass, and leaves and things like that. And she relates this to, if you remember, if you watched where I shared the introduction of this book, her first husband passed away. So she goes on to share that her family went through a season of grief, but in the years following, she also had a fierce sense of hope that came. And she shares, sometimes life is about breathing and lifting, moving forward one step at a time. Our hearts were singed, but we found unexpected joy in the journey. And when I read that part, it obviously just coming off the heels of Princess, I thought about the video that I did, however many videos back, from Frozen 2, and the song that I really love, one of the songs I really love is Do the Next Right Thing. And sometimes when you have a season of grief or a season of any sort of hard time, you just got to focus on that one moment that you're currently in, and what is the next step. Put one foot in front of the other. I mean, how often in a race or a training run that's hard, you're just like, okay, just one foot in front of the other, and you're moving forward. Whether it's walking, running, jogging, whatever, if you're putting one foot in front of the other, you are moving forward, and that's better than just quitting and staying still. So the training advice and if you're running anything longer than a 5K, definitely take this into account if you have a hard time, because I know it definitely helps me, and I can feel the differences. Figure out your fueling, and Coach Sean recommends that if you're struggling during a long run or a race, try consuming 50 to 100 calories either from gels or chews or from a running beverage, and the sustenance will perk you up and give you a second wind. And I'm finding the right thing to take, because I mean, we're all different. Finding the right thing to take really can make the difference, because I know when I am doing those longer runs, when I take my nutrition, I definitely feel that second wind coming on. The inspirational quote that she shares is from Coach Ed Eyestone on his athlete winning the men's NCAA 10,000 meter championship back in 2009. He said, "Sometimes you have to go through the tragedy before you can experience the jubilation of the triumph." And so I was super proud with the way that he was able to find that gear. And so the question she poses is, what is a difficult circumstance you are facing? Write out a prayer responding with hope. So, I mean, everything that's going on in the world right now, you just watch the news and you see tragedy happening. And this particular topic, I go through seasons where, I'm just like, oh, I get it, God's in everything. But then when you're actually in it, sometimes that is just so hard to hold on to that truth sometimes when bad things happen. Just yesterday, I found out one of the dads in a church family that goes to church with me passed away very unexpectedly. He had been in the hospital, but they were hoping that he was going to recover, and he didn't, and he passed. And he's not all that much older than my husband. This is very unexpected. I mean, and how do you what's the word? Not justify, but you know where I'm going. I mean, why do things like that happen? And then there's other church members that I know that are struggling, and one in particular that is probably going to pass on to be with God here in the next few days, which is also, I sometimes have a hard time finding that beauty from ashes. Like, where's the good? Where's the good? I've mentioned in many videos when COVID first happened and all of that exploded. Why? What is the ultimate end game for all of this happening? And we may not know. People say this little saying, we may not know this side of heaven. One of my favorite, and I've said this before too, one of my favorite quotes from a movie that I love, Do You Believe? They say it at the end, something to the effect of, we're all just a thread in a big tapestry of God's plan. And when we get to heaven, we're gonna see this beautiful artwork of how everything worked together. And that's what hope is knowing that there is going to be that beauty. And we're gonna get there and we're gonna be like, oh, that's why. And sometimes we get that revelation here on earth, but I think with the really hard things, sometimes we're gonna get to heaven and God's gonna be like, this is why this happened, and it is beautiful. So sometimes it's really hard, and I think that's why it's so important to stay in God's word, because that's where you find his promises and the hope that he gives us. So that's the one piece of advice that me personally that I give is to make sure that you stay in his word, because it's much easier to recollect those promises if you're reading them on a daily basis. Because I know I go through periods of time where I'm not in the word like I need to be, and those are the times where I feel more stress, more anxiety, because it's just, I'm terrible at memorizing verses. I don't have a very good memory, so that's especially important for someone like me to have that time every day where I'm staying in it. So I hope everyone is doing well. I know we're only on day 2, but I'm already thoroughly enjoying doing this, and I will see you tomorrow for day 3.